Everyone, how are we doing today? Sorry, this daily live session is a little later than normal, but I've been up kind of thinking about what I want to say, kind of digesting everything going on, and I just wanted to get some real thought into today's video. And as the title says, I'm going back to a book that I did a review on almost a year ago, I think, called Extreme Ownership. And the reason I'm going back to this is, the real key to kind of getting through something is not blaming others, doing all these things. And I think our politicians need to take some extreme ownership in companies and people. And I think everybody could take an advantage of this. And there's actually one chapter in this book that I think is particularly telling. It is chapter 7, Prioritize and Execute. So again, this book, if you don't know, was written by a Navy SEAL who was involved in some significant and challenging conflicts in Afghanistan, Iraq, all of that good stuff. So what I would tell you is, oh, my phone oh, everybody there? Sorry about that. I touched my phone. My mistakes. So again, Extreme Ownership, written by Navy SEAL in Iraq on. You got to sneeze into your sleeve, not your hands. So the chapter is Prioritize and Execute. And if you read that chapter, and I read it again yesterday, it really talks about how they train Navy SEALs. One of their training exercise is basically you're going into a chaotic environment. You have an injured SEAL. You have gunfire from enemy. You have friendlies, non-armed combatants running at you, and you've lost communication. Right, the communication's down. And what do you do? And the story is, when they put new Navy SEALs through this, they basically fall apart because you need to prioritize and execute. So again, I think if you take extreme ownership, you prioritize and execute because we are clearly in unprecedented times. We can get through this, and most importantly, get through. Sorry about that. I had a phone call come through. So again, if we have politicians, we can get through this and do all these kinds of things. So again, I think we are at a point where we need to prioritize and execute. So what I think is really important about today is in the last 48 hours, we have started to stack W's. I'm going to take this conversation and talk about L's and W's because what we have seen the last 3 or 4 weeks is we were just stacking up the losses. More bad news, bad news, bad news, bad news, bad news. And that wave of bad news or L's or losses, that's how you get to a bottom. It's unfortunate. I think we still have more L's coming. I still think L's will dominate W's. But what we saw in the last 48 hours can't be forgotten. We have finally put up some W's. we seem to be passing the family first bill by both sides, so they're working together for you, the American people. We've declared a national emergency. We have said, hey, if you want to sell oil ridiculously cheap, we will buy it and stack it for a later year. Genius. We've delayed delayed interest on student loans and payments. There are so many things going on. We are going to get through this. And to the comment, what will happen is the L's are going to start to lessen, and the W's are going to start to increase. I am very, very positive we're feeling that we are closer to the bottom than we are to the top. But again, to be clear, we still have more L's. I believe one of the L's is going to be the stock market. What we seem to be having is an orderly drop. Not so orderly this week, up, down, up, down, up, down. But I still think tech, unfortunately. And again, I'm in the Silicon Valley, been here my whole life. So I don't think tech has had their earnings adjustments. And again, and maybe I'm biased, maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but complex sales cycles are not happening. Very much like after 9/11, it just didn't happen for a quarter. I think some IPOs are going to blow up. My company at the time, way back when, was ready to go IPO. We filed and we had to delay, and then we canceled it because the economy changed, and we ended up selling the company. Right, we were on the path to go public. 9/11 hit, changed. We had a big layoff. We let people go, and then we ended up selling the company. We're going to see that happen, unfortunately, again. So um, I think tech's going to take the stock market down, probably given the multiples and all of that, significantly. But again, we've got to get to the bottom so we can come back. So more L's coming. But again, the last 48 hours, I am so happy. We finally have some W's. And again, how this works is L's will be reduced and W's are going to increase. It's going to feel terrible for a couple more weeks. But we finally have some W's. Some others that I've documented, because again, I've been thinking about this for hours. Apple. Apple's like, you know what? Social distancing worked. So what has Apple done? They've shut down all their stores on their own. Yes, that's going to hit tech. Apple stock is going to be down Monday, like I'm saying. But they are like, you know what? We got to suffer now to profit later. So Apple, thank you. Hospitals, they're like, you know what? We've got to get ready for stuff. So let's cancel all elective surgeries, anything elective, go. Let's create drive-through centers. Great idea. Politicians, hopefully Monday. I can't believe the Senate is on freaking recess. Those freaking people should be working 7 days a week. What the hell? Looks like Family First will get passed. We are doing tremendous things to be better in the future. Buying, if you want to sell oil at $30, Saudi Arabia, great. We'll buy it all. We're delaying interest. We're reducing monthly expense from people who may have income problems. Awesome. We're strengthening unemployment. We're giving people who don't have sick leave 2 weeks. This all are finally some W's on the board. There are some things that I'm still thinking about that could be helpful, that I'm hopeful for. One of them is I would love to see something like Italy, where just all debt payments are delayed for 60 or 90 days. Just take it off the table. Congress, Senate, whatever comes together, sign a bill. It's not that they're canceled. I would never say that, right? Debt is debt. You got to pay it back. But you know what? This is once in a lifetime event, once in a century event. Let's delay payments for 90 days so people can get through this, work, be at home and not have that hanging over their head. That'd be pretty cool. I actually think that's coming. I think that'll be something that happens in late March. Italy is the first country that I see did that, and I think others are going to follow. The one that I'm really thinking about is kids, and because seemingly all the schools in California are shut, and I believe it will happen nationally soon. But a lot of kids, unfortunately, rely on get 2 meals a day from school because otherwise they don't know where their meals come from, which is a different sad affair that we should have fixed. But today, with schools canceled, where are they going to get their food? We got to think about this, right? We have a chance to step up and help these folks through this time, and we should. We got to figure that out. Another one we need to figure out is our healthcare system. Nurses, doctors, they're on the front lines. They are going to be asked to work crazy amount of hours, put their lives at risk, more than they usually do. But how do we help them? Some of them, kids, are out of school and they have to make a choice: watch their kids or go to work. So if you're in a situation where you can help a nurse or a doctor or somebody in healthcare, a grocery store, whatever, we have people that kids are home. We have to step up and help our neighbors. If they got to make a choice, we need that. You got to be trained. We can't just snap our fingers and have a million nurses and practitioners to help. So we've got to help our neighbors. Something I would really love to see the National Guard do ASAP is let's go build some triage centers, right? If this is going to be the millions of people that I hear are coming, let's build triage centers away from the hospitals, right? Hospitals is where you go when you're in a bed. If you want to be checked, go to one of the triage centers. And unfortunately, if you're one of the 3 or 4 or 5% that need to go to the hospital, we will take you from the triage center to the hospital. Let's get people out of the hospitals. That is crazy. So I would love to see New York, Seattle, Santa Clara County, LA, the big places. Go take some of this government money and build some triage centers and then communicate the hell out of it. Use these texting systems and tell people, hey, if you feel sick, go here to get tested. Don't go to the hospital. Let's take extreme ownership and get through this together. The other thing that I think we need to be ready for, and this will be a tough pill for some of us to swallow, is we need to be ready for the government to take over. Awesome. Yeah, I think New Rochelle is the first place to do this, Tom. I'd love to see it happen everywhere. Here's the last thing. I think we need to be ready for the federal government to take ownership stakes in companies that are too big to fail. I know it doesn't feel good, but be careful. Listen to what I said. I want them to take ownership stake. So if Boeing, I'm just going to pick on Boeing because I can. Let's say Boeing stock goes down to $30 a share. And oh, by the way, Boeing is the largest exporter of goods for the U.S. out of any. We want Boeing to exist. What if the federal government came in and bought 25% of Boeing at $30 a share, made sure they survived this once in a lifetime event, and then sold Boeing shares, I don't know, 1% a year for the next 25 years? I'm guessing they're going to make a profit, right? Who wins in this messy environment? People with cash. Who has more cash than the people that make it? The federal government. So we should be comfortable with the government buying low. Let's let them buy 25% of these stocks so that when they go up, which we all believe they will, if they survive, let's get some profit and pay off this national debt. Wouldn't that be cool? I think they did this with AIG. I could be wrong, but I believe this is where I heard it first years ago. AIG was in big trouble. They bought a stake, and I believe they sold it at a monster profit. Do it again. Then the last thing I want to talk about, I don't know if you've seen this, but tons and tons of sports figures are coming out and covering costs of workers at stadiums. The list is long. I think this started with Kevin Love out of Cleveland. So yeah, the government saved GM, same thing. So I'm encouraged by people of means helping others in trouble. That is awesome. So that's what I think should be happening. We're going to get through this together, and the fastest way to get through this together is to get to the bottom. Let's just know more losses are coming, but we will start stacking W's. And yesterday and the day before were important days. They were the first W's we put on the board. They still were hard to see, surrounded by L's, but it's important. We finally have a fighting chance. So again, I expect this to be messy for a couple more weeks, probably through March. I believe tech is going to be the last real big drop, and it's going to be big, in my opinion. And that will be a good day, because you can't start the return until you get to the bottom. And I think tech's the last leg down in this bottom. So that's what I have. I've thought about this for hours. I wanted to get this out. I didn't want to be in a rush. If you haven't read Extreme Ownership, heck, we're all at home now. Read this book, specifically chapter 7. I think this is a little bit of this right now would be good for all of us. Stop blaming others. Let's get to work. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Take care.